Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen of Facebook world. Welcome to another episode of Billy Watson TV. I've got a guest on tonight. I've known him for a while, quite friendly with him, although I wouldn't say we were close friends, but certainly every time I met him, we've got on rather spiffingly. So welcome to the show, Colin Higgins.
Thank you for that marvellous introduction. How are you doing?
Not too bad, mate, yourself?
Aye, not bad. Having some technical issues.
Yeah, the internet's went down here a couple of times beforehand, so hopefully we'll get through this interview.
Aye.
How was your... We're on for an hour.
Cool.
How was your Christmas and New Year?
It was good. Obviously very quiet and all sorts of, atypical, usual Higgins family tragedy before Christmas, but we got that out the road. And so, death in the family. I need to sort this out. By God, do you think I've never done a fucking Zoom before? Hold on. There we go. I was just looking at my picture there before my real face came up, and fucking hell, have I got fat and ugly over this last few months? Jeez, fucking hell.
Did you know lose a bit of weight recently?
Well, I did. I lost 5 stone.
Aye. What did you come down to?
But I'd lost a 5 stone a couple of years ago.
Right, okay.
And then my sister died.
Aye.
And then I ate her. No, I'm kidding. And I just ended up, doing the usual fucking panicking and all the old horrible coping mechanisms come back in.
Yeah, kind of thing.
And I was eating my body weight in cheese again before I knew what hit me. So, my big fat ugly bastard again. My work in progress.
So how did you lose the weight the last time? Did you exercise or just change your diet?
It was both. It was I was doing a lot of exercising. I was helping my friend out, and her mother and father-in-law lived this big massive mansion in Glasgow, so it was like helping her out with the house and stuff, and just the house took a whole day to hoover, and that's good cardio, let me tell you. And eating really healthily, and a pinch and om addict, and making a lot of food out of that. So that's what we're hopefully going to be doing again. We bought the latest book there, so we tried the sweet and sour last night, and it was all right. So it's just cutting out the booze, cutting out the booze, and stop eating takeaways. Lazy bastard, not cooking and buying in shite. That's my problem.
That's basically it. I don't know if you know, are you frozen at your end? Was it frozen there as well?
You froze a wee bit there, but I'm looking okay.
Well, you're froze here, and basically, I think your froze going live as well. So, I don't know, do you want to stay frozen and just talk audio, or do you want to log in and log back out, log out and log in?
Well, what do you think would be better? I think I should just go live and do it through my mobile.
And that's going to take some time to set up. Oh, right, you're back again. It's cool. Right, relax. We'll roll with it. So, right, healthy eating is the way to go. Basically, that my girlfriend, when I met her, she was overweight, and then just because I was shocked that she was putting away 8 bottles of Pepsi Max a day, I was like, fucking hell. So when she took that off her diet, she lost 5 stone, and just maintaining that healthy eating, not too healthy, but just not. And because it is an addiction, isn't it? You get craving for these types of foods.
And you can't avoid food. You need it. It's like one of those addictions that you can't avoid. But you know what? Fuck it. We'll get there. We'll get back on the.
You didn't feel bad about yourself in the meantime, basically.
Well, no. Well, I've got a young stud that loves me and life's jolly, so it could be worse.
That's cool. So for people watching, maybe don't know you, basically you've been doing comedy quite a lot recently. So we'll get into that. But I'd like to go back to basically your childhood. I know you've probably talked about these kind of things before, but just you're kind of growing up. Where did you grow up, and school, and then into obviously the kind of traumas that happened? And I'd like to talk about that.
Well, I was born in the shadow of Tinto Hill.
Tinto Hill, what's that?
Tinto Hill is the only hill around here. It's in Lanark. Well, it's actually not in Lanark, but you can see it. You've got a spectacular view of it from Lanark.
Right.
And I'm now not 100 yards from where I was born, where I live now. But I mean, I was born in Lanark and brought up in Carluke,
Okay.
and which is a wee market town in South Lanarkshire.
Right.
It's a cracking wee place. It's a good wee town, full of good people. A few arseholes, but generally speaking, it's quite nice. I quite like that these wee kind of towns, like Carluke. And I went to school in Cumnock as well, and that's how I met. We used to call him Stephen. We used to call him Stephen. I call him Stuart. But Stephen Magners.
Why do you call him Stuart?
Stuart Murray. That's his fucking name.
All right. Thanks for revealing that, Ian.
Oh, he's tuned in. Go easy on each other. I love you both. I went to school in Cumnock. I went to school in Carluke, primary school. Started off with a very damaging Catholic education that has left its mark on me forever. And
let's go to that a wee bit. In what way did it do that? How would you describe it?
I'm actually going to be getting into this in great detail in my stand-up, right? But it's like, I was born, and I don't know, what age are you, Billy?
50.
You're not! Fuck's sake. Right, well, when I was born, well, you get hammered at school then, I take it?
No, we just missed that.
You just missed it?
I mean, the stick and all that, the cane.
The cane and all that?
Not in my schools. I don't think it was a thing, really. Just, yeah, but obviously, if you're younger than me, you must have been in Glasgow and more hardcore.
Well, the women that were teaching us were elderly then.
Maybe in the Catholic school, they're just vindictive bastards, though.
Well, they were Catholic, fanatic, psycho bitches for hell, right? These fucking women, they were, honest to God, I mean, hated children. It's like, why do you teach?
Yeah. I've heard quite a lot of this, with nuns schools and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, I think these women were on a par with the nuns. I think they'd have been taught by nuns themselves, right? And they were very frustrated with me because they couldn't kick my head in. I came in not long after corporal punishment had been kind of whipped off them. Right. So if they met a child like me, they could just take them into a cupboard and kick their head in. And then you would go home and say, oh, the teacher hit me. And then your parents would kick your head in. You know what I mean?
You deserved it.
Things were done then, you know what I mean? And I thought, God almighty, if my niece came home and said to me, a teacher had hit her, I'd fucking cut his nipples off. Do you know what I mean? But it's a different time, isn't it? So these women who were used to leathering people, literally, then I turned up into the classroom and asking all the questions. Well, you know, the religion and all that. I mean, that was a holy wee Joe. We were brought up Catholic, in a Catholic education. The same women that were telling you 1 + 1 = 2 were also telling you that you're going to go to hell and the man in the sky. So you're not going to question it. You say, well, my logic was unassailable with arithmetic. You know, I'll just take it as that this is the truth and the heaven and the man nailed to the wall above the blackboard and all that. And of course, I would go home and it was a Catholic house, and my gran, who I talk about a lot in my stand-up, was a very devout Catholic. But I mean, Catholics are generally good people.
Yeah, I know that. I've been in a Celtic crowd and I've been in a Rangers crowd, and I'm much more proud the Celtic crowd.
Hi. So it's funny, you go to Inverness and they don't know what the fuck we're talking about. You talk about sectarian, you don't know what that doesn't exist up there. You don't get sectarianism in Inverness or Greg's for some reason. I don't know if that. But it was brought up with these horrible women.
So what ages was that? Staying in primary school? That's
primary school.
Right.
I mean, that was when I first realised that I could make people laugh, and I always wanted to make people laugh, and I wanted to have a giggle. And if there's ever a group of people, or if there's ever a collection of people, I'll no doubt say something. Do you know what I mean? To get a laugh, to have a laugh, because it's the best thing in the world. And these women didn't like me one bit, and the feeling is mutual. I mean, one of them, she was a proper sadist, right? I mean, psycho. And I'm not the only one. There's house parties all over Carluke talk about this mad cow. And she taught us in primary 7, evil women. And she would humiliate you, and you really go to town on you psychologically, you know, and especially when those formative years, humiliation is something you never go over. You know, it's like you live with that shit forever.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
and I don't. I've not let it go.
Yeah,
I'm not over it, Billy.
You know, in America, they go for counselling for years and years for all this kind of shit, you know? We don't have that same kind of culture here.
I know. I want to go to America. Lots of counselling and lots of Adderall. I'm up for it, man. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, but certainly these formative years, if you got negative influence like that, it can set your life course in a very negative way, you know, because you have to deal with this insecurities and stuff. You shouldn't be surrounded by love all the time and positive, you know?
Aye.
So
and of course, the whole anti-gay sort of narrative that you get in a Catholic school or a Christian school or anywhere during the 80s and the 90s, I suppose, but really heavy going.
so they're quite open about this in the school.
About anti-LGBT stuff. Oh, aye.
So did you, back then, did you always kind of think you had a thing for boys kind of thing, or obviously in puberty, did that become more prevalent?
Sounds a bit dodgy when you put it like that, Billy. I'm not going to lie, but
You know what I mean?
I always do. I had a thing for boys, but I grew out it, thankfully. No, it was. I definitely knew I was gay, but I had a hard time with
So
it. You know,
you're very young at school, thinking you were gay, and then you're getting all this anti-gay stuff. So you're taking that very hard.
Yeah, well, I suppose, and you know, but obviously at that stage in the game, you're just a kid, and you don't really know who you are, and you obviously you don't want to be gay. You don't want to be different.
Yeah.
Now I realise that I'm quite different from a lot of people, and I've got no problem with it whatsoever.
Yeah.
But when, excuse me, when I was a boy, it was hard, and I knew having daddy issues, problems with my dad, and all that, and knowing that the last thing he needed me telling him was that I was gay. You know, on top of being the other absolute ulcer sore of a son that I obviously was to him, I didn't want to then. Oh, I'm fucking gay as well, by the way. So that was also hard because I just knew it was going to be more rejection and hurt and.
So how did you come to that? How old were you?
People as well, which didn't help.
Like, did you try and convince yourself you were straight and try and date girls and stuff like that?
Oh, aye, definitely. Yeah.
So when did you actually realise and come to terms with the fact that you prefer men and that was it? So
I remember it quite distinctly. I was living in Cumnock and I was in a gold Nova that stank of green.
okay.
And we were driving around a place called Edgar Avenue. And I was listening to Bon Jovi in the car.
Right.
And it was I was like, I can't remember, I'm not a Bon Jovi fan, but whatever the song was, and he was kind of making a noise with his voice. And I thought, I'm a fucking boof. I'm gay. Oh, no. And yeah, that was it.
So how old were you then, do you reckon?
Oh, but I don't know, 16 maybe.
Right.
16,
But still, and is that when you started dating guys after that? Or?
No, you kidding?
Aye. And that's what did you really face up to it and say, right?
There was like, obviously back then there was a kind of heavy kind of drug culture, and we were all taking things and experimenting with this and that, and you know, there was a few drugged up fumbles that you know what I mean, and with girls and boys, you know, but it was with the lads was where it was at.
Aye. I mean, that's all life's all about, finding out who you are and then being the best you can be and not be ashamed, you know.
Listen, I go on stage, this big hairy man, and I go in there and I do a whole bit and I start talking, and I need to tell the audience that I'm gay. And my favourite heckle is, you know, you don't look gay. I say, well, you see me suck a dick, look gay as fuck when I'm doing that, you know, and that's one of my lines. And it usually gets a bit of a roar of laughter, you know, and then I can carry on with the rest of my act. So it wouldn't make much sense to them if I didn't.
Yeah, well, it's good. That's what I like about stand-up comedy.
The fucking signs are there now. Let me tell you.
What does it say in that thing?
A fucking rainbow sock sitting here on this desk because I'm speaking to you.
I've got it myself, so. So you were going through school then, so was your home life difficult?
Not really. No, I mean, I suppose it was. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I had a very idyllic childhood for the first sort of 10 years of my life, 9 years of my life. I mean, we lived in a beautiful home that my father had built. My mum and dad had built this house, and it was a beautiful house, and we lived there. My mum, my dad, and my sister and myself, and my wee gran, who just lived round the corner and up the road. She was there every day. Parents worked full time. Gran was there looking after the house and looking after us, and it was idyllic. And huge big family. My mum was one of 8, so
Right.
huge family. Lots of cousins and lots of aunties who meant and mean the world to me. Only one left, and that's the thing with big families. You know, it's big losses. You know, there's a lot of since 2016 we've had a lot of death in my life, and it's been really staggering, to be honest. But that's that's the catch-22 when you've got a big family that you love. You need to lose them all. But it was idyllic. My mum and dad's marriage started to go down hill. I mean, my dad seemed to really kind of love my sister. Really couldn't be asked with me very much. So that was because I had a mum who loved me so much and a gran who loved me so much, and my dad was like, you know, what's the big deal? He didn't like me that much. So
What was the age difference between you and your sister?
it was 4 years between us. She was 79, I was 83.
Right.
So my mum and dad, their marriage broke up, and then we moved to Largs, and that's
Your mother.
really got interesting. Eh?
That was with your mother.
That was my mum. Mum and I, we fucked off.
Just your mum and yourself.
Yeah, my sister stayed with my dad,
Right.
and she's a bit older, so
We'll settle in our life.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll settled in our life at school and stuff like that.
Aye. And we moved to Largs, and that was where, again, it started off. I moved to school. I'd moved to a few schools for different reasons, and this was school number. I think at that time number 3 was St Mary's in Largs, do you know, my mum, talk about like being, when we first learned about Largs, my mum went through a stage where she went really off the fucking deep end with her religion. You know, it was like she's married to a proddy now, you know what I mean, doesn't go to mass. Back then, you know, she was fucking going to mass, prayer groups, everywhere you looked. There was, you walk into my house, it was like a parochial house. There was statues everywhere and rosary beads hanging for the ceiling. Then we moved to Largs, has got a convent,
right?
And the convent has a cottage that you can rent. And I spent an October week in Largs with a load of nuns. Right, shit you not. It was all guitars at night. Dominica, right?
Just during the nuns, or is it?
Me and them also people and you couldn't fucking make it up, man. Right, and right by the sea. And because I was only a wee guy, I was allowed in amongst all the nuns and all that. These nuns wouldn't talk to the general public unless it was through a grill. Right? Because I was just a wee boy, right? They didn't bother with me. They're all quite taken with me and all that, you know. The Mother Superior was quite young, English lady, really tall. She was really lovely as well. People, I mean, I'm really outspoken about the Catholic Church and really give it a hard time, but I have to say, I've never met a priest or a nun I didn't like. You know what I mean? It's just, I've always got on great with them. I've never had a bad experience with a priest or a nun.
Aye.
I loved our parish priest growing up. You know what I mean? He was a great guy, Father McCarthy. I loved him to bits. But I do get angry at the Catholic Church because of all its lies and its bullshit.
Paedophilia.
Of course. And giving gay people a hard time and just brushing off the old pedophilia like it's nothing, you know what I mean? I find that all quite alarming. But aye, that was Largs. And then we decided to move there. We bought a flat in Gateside Street in Largs. And we went in and had to put carpets down and decorate it and a bit of a shoestring. And life was jolly for a wee while, and then you know, trials and tribulations. I think I moved back to Carluke for a bit after falling out with my mum, and then moved back to Largs again, and then got myself into some real hot water. And aye, that was a bit of an experience where things took a real dark turn.
Yeah, would you like to go into that, or?
Aye, if you want. Aye.
Yeah, I mean, on this show, I do kind of talk about these kind of things, you know, real experiences. So,
Well, aye. Well, obviously, I'd moved back to Largs, and I had got myself, and I'd made some pals at school and whatnot, and you know, into all sorts of things, like being naughty, like sort of smoking cigarettes and drinking cans of Tennent's and
aye,
things like that I thought were really cool. And one particular wee pal that I'd made had pals outside of school that he was friends with, and I didn't know that these outside school friends he was talking about were actually two murdering psychopathic paedophiles. But unfortunately, that's who they were. And sorry,
I think he was aware of that.
Oh, he would have known because he was a victim of what was going on himself.
Right.
But again, he was a wee boy, and I didn't understand what he was taking me into, or I don't hold any malice against him or anything like that. You know, he was going through what he was going through. He endured longer than I did, and it was scary what he was dealing with, and so it was just a horrible situation. And I got to know them, and I mean, when I say we met them in a place called Skelmerley. It was just outside Labs, and they pulled up my car, and it was night time. It was like winter, so it was dark.
How old are you?
I would be 14, 15.
Right.
And when I think I was 14, and when they showed up, one of them looked like he had quite a scarred face.
Right.
Another one had a kind of hunchback. Looking back,
should have ran.
You know, they weren't screaming fucking, I don't know, Julie Andrews vibe. You know, it was more, there was a bit of sinister looking hair, but when you're young and you're stupid and you don't want to lose face in front of your pal, you're not expecting you're going to get raped. You know what I mean?
No.
And they had they were renting this cottage up in the hills at the back of Skelmerley. Open fire and blah blah blah. They'd be puppy Jack Russell, and you could get and get a beer. And of course, they didn't just start with the raping straight away. You're very calculated. They got to know me, knew my mum was on her own, and knew my wee cousin was just starting school, and they got to know who I was. And
so you're going for repeat visits, there, kind of thing.
Well, they got to know me. They knew I was vulnerable. They knew all my pressure points and knew I was vulnerable. And the police then, because obviously I fucking totally ratted them out, went to the police and told on them. But
well, after the first time?
No, not after the first time. I couldn't. I was too scared, and but it was like, I think I tolerated it for. Oh God, these are things I've not thought about for such a long time. I tolerated it for a couple of months.
So I mean, they're grooming you. How do they make that transition to know, like, having sex? It's like pretty fucking. Are you just naive and?
No. What happened? The police, well, for a start, the police thought that every time they handed me a can of Tennent's, right, it was an open can of Tennent's.
Right.
I didn't know.
So you get drunk a little bit, right?
They reckon the abuse started with me long before I was aware of it.
Right.
I woke up one morning and I was being attacked.
Right.
So I was in bed. I was in a single bed.
Right.
And I woke up and I was not in the bed alone. And then I get picked up and carried through to the other room. I was the only boy in the house at the time.
Right.
And I was pretty badly treated.
Right.
It was it was a horrible, nightmarish experience.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that.
Sorry?
I can't even imagine. It's horrific. I've had close quarters with a paedophile.
Incredibly, it was, I was raped, and I was only a wee boy, and it was extremely painful and nightmarish. I didn't know if it was going to kill me after it. You don't know. It's like, this is fucked up, and what are you doing? And my mum doesn't even know what I am, and so it was. She thought I was staying somewhere else and things like that. So they threatened her, obviously, that if I'd stopped going up or if I wasn't playing ball, they were going to. I think Neil told me he was going to gouge her eyes out with a fork. Was one of the things he told me.
I mean, did your mum know what was going on at that point then? Why would
What? Fuck. No. I was obviously, my behaviour changed, and I was obviously becoming really, I was traumatised, and so she could see there was something seriously wrong with her son.
Aye.
But I had no idea that.
So how were they coming in contact with her to say, he better still come or we're going to gouge your eyes out? I mean, that's quite a threat to make.
Well, she said to me, Neil said to me, these guys, Charles O'Neill, William Laughlin, Neil said to me he would gouge your eyes out with a fork.
All right, okay.
And that's the one that sticks in my mind. I mean, there was lots of other subtle things and things that were said, and that's a long time ago now, but...
these guys are doing this to quite a few kids that are coming into the house at the same time. And
it was huge. I mean, I think at one point, there was like 15 young lads had been through all sorts of terrible things. And the thing that was really scary here is the thing was they'd already told me that they'd done another woman in.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So this threat was very fucking real when they said to me, we'll come after your mum. They weren't mucking around.
She heard about the other woman and the story of her getting murdered or anything.
There was another woman they met and had some sort of accord with. And a woman called Alison McGarrigle, and she became aware of one of the young victims, or I don't know, I wasn't there, I don't know, I can only go with what it says in the press, but she was aware that they were abusing a young boy, same age as me, but they've been doing this young boy for a long time, and she caught wind of it, discovered it, whatever, so she threatened them to either stop, or they knew she knew, or whatever it was, and they lured her to a flat in Largs, and I think the prosecution said that they strangled her and murdered her.
Aye.
And they hid her under rocks down at the beach.
Aye.
And then they then got a hold of another boy or whatever who had access to a boat, or somebody who had a boat, and they took her out to sea in a wheelie bin or a container of some sort. They weighted it down and they dumped her off the coast. So this was a very, very fucking real.
So when that happened, that you heard about this woman going missing, but obviously they've not been done for it yet.
I was aware of missing posters. It was like Largs. Look, you remember the start of Lost Boys, the movie The Lost Boys?
Aye.
Where there was like missing posters everywhere.
Aye.
Well, that's what Largs was like then. There was missing posters everywhere, but it was only of one woman.
Aye.
This one woman who is, I think, ages with me now.
Right.
She was about 38, 39.
Right.
And
so when they mentioned that name, you would have recognised it from the poster, and you would have said, "Fuck, that's them. They murdered that woman."
Well, they went into detail with me, so I knew what they were talking about, and I knew they were talking about Alison, and I knew that they'd done it, and they admitted to me that they'd done it. They admitted to other boys who they were threatening that they'd done it.
Right.
So I was living with that threat.
Aye.
I couldn't believe myself in this fucking situation, and if I do the wrong thing here, they're going to hurt my mum. You know, so it was horrible. And but I then obviously keeping them happy and trying to think up a plan and trying to think, what am I going to do here? And being a wee boy and not knowing fuck all over the world and not having a clue. I'm very naive, by the way, 14, 15-year-old. Well, you've heard of my fucking upbringing, Dominica, Nika. You know, I'm getting raped by two psychopaths. Do you know what I mean? Crazy.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, right, fuck, what am I going to do here? And then it kind of dawned on me that if they were off the streets, they couldn't hurt my mum. And it was simple. It was that easy.
You're not talking to the other boys about it. Was there any of that?
No, I didn't trust them. You kidding? So, and I didn't trust them not to go back and say something to them or anything like that. And you know, not only that, you know, it's you're living totally. It's the loneliest place in the world. You're living totally alone in your own head, trying to resolve this fucking enormous mess that I found myself in. And I just decided enough was enough. And I went that day. I mean, they were picking me upside. I couldn't even get to school. They were waiting for me in the morning, and they were picking me up when I was walking to school in the morning.
Right.
Aye. So I just decided to sneak up to my Auntie Janie's, and I went in, and I was able to eventually take. I'm actually writing a book about it, and it's funny. I was talking to my partner about it, and when I was writing the book, I was writing all these horrific fucking things and going through. I mean, it's still even. I've not even got past the first draft yet, but writing about horrible things that you think would evoke some real emotion out of me. It was actually the part where I was writing about talking to my aunt about it that really made me howl. You know, I had to stop, shut the computer down, went through to my bed, and I lay there and gret, and Jack's like, for fuck's sake, enough is enough. You need to leave this alone for a wee while. So I went and I spoke to my aunt about it, and I went in, and how I approached it was I was just kind of saying, I know there's boys at school, and they're being hurt by these blah blah blah. The manager, she's like, right, right, yeah. She took it all in, and she said to me, "Are you telling me that this happened? This was happening to these boys and not happening to you?" I said, "No, it's happening to me too." And she just fucking fell to her knees, grabbed me off the couch, broke her heart, phoned my uncle who was at his work, and I had already had a social worker at the time because of all my truancy, and my mental health was obviously in the toilet, and they were all. Well, my mum had pushed every panic button she had to try and get me sorted, and didn't know what she was dealing with, obviously. And it was that, and then that was it. We were into Kilburnie police station, and there we sat for 8-9 hours, giving a statement. At which point I turned in and told the two guys, John Sallins and Peter Benson. By the way, they murdered Alison McGarrigle, and the two of them nearly fucking flipped. You know, they nearly collapsed. And then it was just a different ball game. You know, it was just what we're dealing with. What they were dealing with was pretty insane. And then there's been court cases. I was still fighting the two bastards in court when I was 28 years old because we couldn't go after them for the murder because there was no body. We never found Alison's body. Do you remember that fucking space shuttle, that NASA space shuttle that exploded in the 80s?
Challenger, I think it was.
Nobody died, right? That NASA developed a ship, spent a fortune developing this ship specifically to scan the bottom of the seabed to try and find as much record. We ended up getting that boat up to Ayrshire to scan all that area, looking possibly for something. You know, we never found it.
Yeah, the fish would have been rotting away and blown away or whatever.
Well, whatever. I mean, there was nothing to be found, sadly, and we had to wait for the conviction of Arlene Fraser's husband. And there was another one as well, but the Arlene Fraser one sticks out. And
what was that? What do you mean?
Arlene Fraser got murdered by her husband and never found a body.
Right.
So after that was a bit of a landmark case, getting that bastard for murdering her.
Right.
And
the other ones without the body. You could do
I can't remember the other one. The Arlene Fraser one, that was the major one.
You could then go after these two guys because of that case, right?
Pretty much. That set a precedent, and it meant we could go after them for that. So I had to go back to court. The first case was your man Donald Finlay was representing them.
It is old and it is
fucking arsehole, man. I swear to God, I would cross a busy M8 just to slap him in the moustache. I'm not joking. I want a word with you, you fucking prick. So, Mr. Finlay, I'm only joking.
What was this for? The abuse for these guys on you? And did any of the cases? Did they all come out and tell the story? And these guys got charged for that initially.
And then they got out after about 8 years, and then they emigrated to Spain on false passports, and then we had to chase them out of Spain, and then they were in England, and then they had another load of abusing another child in Blackpool, and they brought them up to Scotland. They abused a kid in the science centre in Glasgow, and they were abusing these kids. They were back to their old tricks, and they eventually get done again, and then we went after them for the murder. I had to go back to court and face the two of them sat there.
Did you face the two of them the first time when you were a boy in the court?
Well, it was another boy went before me, and his evidence was so compelling that they changed their plea there and then.
Right, just so they didn't want to get any more come out.
Basically, and then that laddie, he took the bullet for the rest of us. And he went up there, and people say, "Oh, you went and told the police, and you stopped him." Blah blah blah. But I mean, I didn't need to face them in court in that early stage of the game, which I thought was significant. That other lad went and done a marvelous job, and get them done.
Yeah, you still played your part. You done the right thing.
Aye, well, I suppose it ruined my life, but you know, it's
so that court case there, and that after happening. What happened in the aftermath of that then? You say it ruined your life. The first one. You're saying it ruined your life. What happened in the aftermath of this then, and how did it ruin your life?
Well, after that, we tried to then I moved to Cumnock.
Right. And
I was very happy there. I love people slag Cumnock. I love Cumnock. Great people, great place. They're no bullshit with folk with Cumnock. And once they take you into their heart, that's you forever, you know. And I've still got amazing friends. My best pal still lives in Cumnock, one of my best friends. And I'm up there, and I'm just a part of her family. And I go up and I visit, and I take part in family events, and I love them, and I love going back. And that was fine, but unfortunately, my mental health was in tatters. Night terrors and.
Aye.
Petrified that they were going to, because these are dangerous people. These aren't your wee average, you know.
You were in jail. You were having these things.
Oh, they're in jail. No, they're fucked now. But I mean,
when you were young, there were they in jail and you were still terrified of them?
Yes, because I knew at some stage they were going to get out.
Aye.
And I didn't know what that meant for me, or anybody that I loved, or anybody that was involved in me that was vulnerable, or anything like that.
Aye.
You know, you watch a movie, right? You go to the cinema and you watch a film. And the film ends, and then the credits roll. In real life, that doesn't happen, right? The fucking story keeps going, and the consequences, and you're ricocheted off in a direction, and you're trying to find your feet, and you know, it's really, really difficult. And my mental health was just destroyed, and PTSD, and I've still got it, you know, all sorts of problems, and trying to get back into school and whatnot. But I had a great circle of friends in Cumnock, and we had a great time, just trying to go on with the best we could. And then, you know, my mother liked to move house a lot, so that didn't help matter. So we were moving around quite a lot and not really settling. And we ended up moving to Brassy, which is on the west coast next to Troon. Right. And I'd be about 17 by this time, and we didn't live far from the beach, and where we walked the dog, a young guy got murdered in Kilmarnock, right? The guy called Barry Wallace, and he was attacked by some pervert on a night out in December. Do you remember that Limbs in the Loch crime? Do you remember
it? I can't.
No, it was major news at the time, and the boy that done it killed him and dumped his head over a ferry on his way to Ireland, and the head washed up where I walked the fucking dog.
God's sake.
Which is just crazy. Honest to God, we were just like that. Fuck this. So we moved again. My mum decided in her wisdom to move back to Lards, you know, which was like, did me no favours at all. And we moved back to Largs, and I just was like, I had to get out and work, and it was just every year things were getting worse and worse and worse. And there wasn't the same push for therapy. This is 20 odd year ago now.
Right.
And obviously I've had therapy now, but I've only had it fairly recently, you know. And we moved back to Largs and moved about to pillar to post and pillar to post, constantly with this thing hanging over our heads that these bastards were going to get out. Then they got out.
What was it like when they got out? Did you know the date they were getting out? And
yeah, they let us know. They let us know, and they were under some like serious kind of like they were being watched and observed very closely and on registers and things like that. But they just absconded. They just fucked off as soon as they got some money together. They ran away and disappeared to the continent.
Aye.
And then they committed a whole host of crimes over there. They were actually suspects in the Madeleine McCann case.
Right, fuck's sake.
Aye. I said, oh, Major, you couldn't make it up. So, you know, it's weird. And then there was another wee boy who went missing, Jeremy Vergas, and in Spain, and other things that were linked to, and different things like that. And they're bad bastards, bad to the bone, dangerous individuals, and they need to be locked up. Now they've been done for the murder. Now they've been done forever. But to go back and face them in court, and they've been. So now they're not getting out. I don't think. Or they're doing a stretch 30 years or something.
Right.
I don't see. I'm actually worried for any young cons that are in beside them, like any young vulnerable prisoner. Because I tell you something, whenever there's a vulnerable person around, they're going to be abusing those people. So, wherever they are, I hope life sucks.
Yeah. For anyone that wants to do that kind of shit, you know, it's fucking. There is a sickness in society and lots of people with that. So you've had to come to terms with that. When did you start kind of? Did you have a massive breakdown or something? If it's just been building up and not getting looked at for a while, you know.
Well, I have breakdowns or it colds for me now. I have them. I have one every day.
You sound like a woman.
I had amazing therapy. I have to say, laughter has always got me through. Billy Connolly videos, Jack D, whatever I was watching, Bill Hicks, you know, Carlin Pryor, all these stand-up videos, they get me through so much, and music, and being able to laugh. But obviously I've not been good to myself and had all sorts of problems with drink and drugs and prescription medication and all sorts of stuff. And
basically trying to cope, isn't it, with the dark thoughts and the insanity in your head. Do you think it kind of calms them down? But if you just and ultimately that becomes a problem you have to deal with. So.
Well, that's it. I mean, alcohol's a very effective tool. And I'm wary of saying this publicly because I know that people do struggle, but I mean, alcohol is a very effective tool. A good analogy is good effective tools. Well, there's another good effective tool that try and build a house with just that. You know, you're not going to get very far. And alcohol does help. It does help anaesthetize your brain a wee bit and help you out a wee bit, but it will become a bigger problem than the one you're trying to resolve ultimately. And it will kill you if you do it too much.
Yeah. What's you're kind of, you said you kind of too much beer with the weight. Do you have a problem with alcohol these days, or do you drink a lot and no problem, you know?
I think I do drink probably too much. But you know,
like before going on stage, because I know sometimes you probably went on stage sober and you probably went on stage drunk, and you probably had good and bad drink gigs on both. So it's hard to kind of say I'm better drunk and I'm better sober. And, you know, it's that kind of thing. Once you start fucking with something, it's hard to know if it's the drink that's fucking a bad gig or you or whatever, you know.
Well, you're definitely. It's weird because I don't really like drinking before I go on, because I'd rather have a drink when I come off.
Right.
But I will. There's different types of nervous. I'm always nervous before I do it. Every gig I do, I go, "What the fuck is wrong with you? What you're doing? Why are you here? Listen to that room. They expect you to walk in and be funny. Are you mental? Are you off your head?" Every night I have that goes through my head. So if there's gigs that I'm nervous at, if I know it's going to be hard for me, or I don't know anybody there, or if it's a new format or something, I'm doing something. I had to do a gig just before Christmas, a couple of months before Christmas, and it was like I was booked as a kind of like host, but I was doing 15 minutes at the start of the first half, and then 15 minutes at the start of the second half. So I was doing half an hour, but in 2 slots, which I've never done before or since. And that was nerve-wracking because I like to go up there and just ramble for my time with what I've got, with my material, but I'll just give it a kind of natural feel to it. I'll muck around with it. So having to make sure I had that 30 minutes organised, that was a bit nerve-wracking. So I had maybe a couple of whiskies before I did that. But generally speaking, I don't drink too much. Weed, having a joint before you go on is an absolute no-no. Have you done that?
Way too many times.
Stoned, I don't know how you can do it stoned. I can't. It's just forget it for me. Ooh.
It's fucking ridiculously difficult.
Oh.
You just kind of remember. It's just your head's like, you remember something's like, come here, and it's just going further away, you know.
Did you remember? Did you ever hear me tell a story about the time I was so stoned? I was in Edinburgh at the Fringe, and I was supposed to be doing Pab's Scot roast, right? I think it's the only gig I've ever cancelled in my life, right?
I think I did hear the story through Facebook.
Aye.
Didn't you?
Well, I'll tell it quickly for your listeners. I went and a friend of mine we bought this like proper the proper stuff, the proper oil you get, that black stuff that is really potent. But we're getting it for somebody who was really not well, right? And sadly that person passed away, and there was a whole load of this stuff left behind, and it had all been put in wee capsules. And I had never tried it. I had it on me, and I thought to myself, right, this gig's not until 10 o'clock tonight. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Edinburgh. I'm going to go and take that. I'm going to do a nice bowl of ramen at Mackie and Ramen. I'll be stoned. I'll wolf down my ramen and my sushi. I'll go to my gig. I'll get the piss ripped out of me. I'll have a great night, and I'll go. Right, that was my plan. And I was there with 2 other open spot idiots, right? One of them a crazy Irish guy, right? So I went, took the tablet. The crazy Irish guy took one as well, right? He'd been taking strong stuff because he had brain cancer and a big scar on his head. So he knows his stuff. He can take strong weed and he's fine. He smokes all the time, and edibles and all that. I gave him one. I have one. I swear to God, I could not fucking see, right? I felt like I was on the set of Tenet, right? I came out the place and I was like, oh my God. I didn't recognise a thing. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't focus. I couldn't look. I managed to phone and cancel this gig. And the Irish boy said, have you got an Uber? And I'm like, I don't know what it is. I've not got an Uber. How the fuck am I going to get home? Right? So he went, right, I'll get you an Uber up the road there now, and you get yourself up the road, you crazy fucker. He obviously takes it as well. He can't see either. So I'm looking at the state he's in, going, holy fuck, that's the state you're in. Right? So I lived in Miller Street in Kirlook, right, at the time. Shithole, right, in Kirlook. That's where I lived at the time, Miller Street. This guy organised me an Uber from Edinburgh to Miller Street in Kirkcaldy.
Right. Oh, in Kirkcaldy, right, fuck's sake.
Right? I'm in the back of this taxi going, I'm looking out the window. I'm like, that's a Queensberry Bridge. Where's this guy coming? Let's be Chinese man, right? Get fucking out. And I'm like, Miller Street where? Miller Street, Kirkcaldy. I don't live in Kirkcaldy. I'm like, here's money, take me home. And he's like, no, you need to pay through the app. I can't take money. So I had to phone the guy back up. You need to fucking change that to get me back home. I think the Uber cost him about 200 quid.
Is he paying for it, is he?
No, I gave him the rest of the weed. I said, you can keep this because it was about 600 quid worth of stuff. I went, you can keep that. There's your reward. Fuck me. Oh, crazy.
No, it's classic stuff.
The only gig I've ever missed in my life.
Aye.
So,
Aye. Okay, and how did you get into comedy? Was that kind of a way for you to, I don't know, get some positivity in your life, get a little bit?
well, I just like making folk laugh, and I just liked having a giggle, and I just liked having a good time, and I love stand up, and I seen the importance of it. I never would have dreamt. I used to sit and watch the Piccadilly Conley in the spare bedroom in our house on the fly when nobody was watching, and I'd be 6 years old, legs folded in front of the TV, listening to Billy Connolly talk about condoms and all that, not knowing what he was talking about, and laughing at
like burning rubber.
Aye, one of those you can't be. And I remember just laughing. Remember he talked about the what was it, the Fred Flintstone novelty condom? Did you hear about that?
No,
he said, I wonder how it goes in your sagging. Well, no. So I was watching these fucking videos from an early age, but I told you about my relationship with my dad. If I'd have done it with my dad and went, oh, Dad, I want to be a comedian.
Right.
You know, you would have been puzzled and you would have not funny and, you know, go and get a fucking education, you dick. But it was like, you wouldn't have been Scottish, we don't support that type of thing. We certainly didn't back then.
Well,
you could say I want to play magazine, I want to be a musician. That would be welcomed with, and because I did want to be still noodle about in the piano and stuff. But if I'd have told my MD I wanted to be a comedian growing up, he'd have been totally, you know, laughed at for all the wrong reasons. And I didn't want, because I was so vulnerable to what people said and thought, you know, you keep it to yourself. You don't want people to tear you down or ruin it for you. So I kept it a secret for a long time. And it wasn't until 2009 when I was at rock bottom.
Right.
And I know rock bottom. I know it very, very well. Been there a few times. And I remember thinking, how could I go on stage and talk and make people laugh after what's happened to me?
Right.
Because I thought, you know, it was such a huge thing then. I thought, you know, is it going to, can I do that? Can you be somebody that's been through all that shit and then go on stage and be funny? I don't know, is that allowed? You know, stuff in your head. And 2009, I decided to do it. And I think the first gig I did, I just put my name down for the Red Raw or the whatever it is, the Stand.
It's Red Raw.
Red Raw, and my first ever gig was at the Stand in Edinburgh, at York Place. And I walked out, and I think me and my partner at the time were really drunk. It was Halloween, and we did a bit of domestic. The trains got lifted, and dressed up in our Halloween costumes and all that, black nail polish and white makeup, and ripped t-shirts and all that. Right, and fucking trains got lifted and spent the night in the cells at Tory Glen police station, right? And that was the Saturday night, and I had my first ever gig on the Monday night at the Stand in Edinburgh, and we all went, and I just talked about getting lifted and made it funny, and I did 5 minutes, and everybody kind of laughed. It was Graham Mackey was in the audience that night, and you know, he was very supportive and went, oh, you know, stick in and blah blah blah. And then I don't think I get back to it for a while because that was such a massive, it was such a huge fucking step to actually get up there and do it. It was scary. And then I tried doing different various things. I wasn't preparing any material. I was just on stage and full of drink, full of drugs, full of anything I get my hands on, and just being an idiot and being outrageous and getting a. And then my mental health just nosedived in. I was supposed to be doing a gig in the Stand in Glasgow. The train I was on had a young boy, killed him, and I was traumatized and just really in a total downer. And then that was me until 2017. Sorry, I did nothing, and then
You froze. You might come back. So, hope you're enjoying the chat, folks. Colin seems to have frozen. Is it frozen there, Last time he came back, he was having to use a hotspot rather than his Wi-Fi connection. So maybe the hotspot It's going doo 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 doo. Searching for it. Aye. So since then, anyways, came back in 2017. I came back to Scotland in 2018, and I met Colin on the circuit 2019, and he seems to get quite a lot of gigs. Oh, looks like he's disappeared. He'll probably come back. We have to log out and come back in again, Colin. Hello, folks, if there's anyone still watching from previous, but we're back just to do a wee roundup. We lost Colin there for 10 minutes or so. We lost Colin, and we'll do the last 10 minutes to round up. Colin, you were just talking there about kind of discovering stand-up, I think, and how you got back into it, and you were at the stand, and you had to take a break from it after the first year or something, because your trauma and that got too much, so you had to go and deal with that stuff, did you?
Yeah, it's true. And then I ended up working with Janie and stuff behind the scenes and seeing how she did it and meeting all these people. And it was an education in itself. It really was. It was wonderful watching Janie and Ashley at work and doing their stuff.
That was you, the Edinburgh Festival, supporting them for full run.
And that was 17 and part of 2018 as well. Right. And it was an eye opener, and I hadn't stopped writing. I hadn't stopped forming ideas in my head and writing things down that I knew that I could develop. But of course, you can only develop these things when you're in front of an audience doing them. You can't do it sitting in the house. You need to get out and do it to make it work. And then I just get back. I went and did Viv's course.
Yeah.
Which was amazing, and she's great, understanding who you are and who you're going to be and what the goods you've got, what they are and what you bring to the table.
Yeah. And
she was great at nurturing, and Jojo Sutherland, the two of them were brilliant, and I loved it. And I just, I then, the first gig I did was a guy in the group we were on, Muzzy Chowdhury. He wanted us to go and do a wee run-through gig, because the first gig we had was at the Glee in Glasgow.
All right.
And
that's a showcase. Showcase.
Aye. And we went, and he organised a gig in this place, and it was like a dry bar. It was like a Muslim bar. Right. So you go in, and I went to the bar to get a pint, and it was like they had like slush puppy on draft and all that, and no beer, no alcohol, and there was some ice creams and cheesecake. Great idea, and all these this kind of fundamentally, properly like a Muslim audience, men and women, women in the traditional dress and all that. And why are you setting up a stage? We went in and we set up this stage, and in between the football, they were out to watch the football, and they were getting this impromptu stand-up gig. Me up there talking about all the shit I talk about. and I'd say the majority of them all died on their hole. But I was amazed that I was getting laughs. I thought, if I can make you guys laugh with this material, I've maybe got something here. And then just started gigging as often as possible, and then Jesters kind of fell into my lap, and that's been that. It's been kind of non-stop ever since, really, gigging and running about. And apart from COVID fucking us all up, it's been it's been wonderful, and I love doing it. I love doing it. It still stresses me out. It still makes me nervous. It still gives me the absolute shits, but I'm having a ball. I'm just going to go and see wherever it takes me and have as much fun as I can while doing it. That's
cool. Well, I've certainly enjoyed the few gigs we've done together. I was just thinking of the one in Aberdeen, in Inverness, that you were saying to me to go to the hotel, and I never had enough money, so I had to drive home. I was fucking knackered driving home, but it sounds like I had a better time than you did.
No, is that the one where you were that outdoor gig?
No, that was another one. You were at that as well, weren't you? The festival.
The festival in Aberdeen?
No, I'm talking about Inverness.
Inverness, was that not a festival in like a paintballing place?
There was one we done was Wildwood. Were you at Wildwood?
Is that not the one where you were just out your face dancing with all these birds?
Aye.
I remember that.
But we also done one at Chupters. And you got quite drunk beforehand, and then I believe after that you went for a kebab and you got mega drunk and some nightmare.
Oh, that's right. I remember. I went back to the hostel I was staying in,
Aye.
and I fell out. There was a hammock in the garden,
Aye.
and I went out, and I fell out, and I thought, oh, I decided I was on my own in this big garden, wandering about. Woo! 2 sheets to the wind. I went in the hammock, and I just remember lying in the hammock for about 2 seconds, and then just grass. Well, I fell off it. I thought, oh, that was. I went back on it again, and I fell out and cracked my ribs. I remember that.
Yeah, that's. I knew there was something traumatic happened.
That's right. Aye. Well, that was hellish. Oh, that's twice I've cracked my ribs when I've had too much to drink. Jesus. I'm starting to sound like an alcoholic here, Billy.
Well, I don't know. It's the rock and roll lifestyle, eh?
Mm.
I do see you getting around quite a bit. So, you should say getting the gigs and getting out there is what's doing it. Is that what's paying your bills these days? Is that you?
No, is it? You kidding? It's the most expensive hobby in the world.
Basically, aye.
There's no paying my bills.
But there is that thing you have to do that first, and then because you're getting so many gigs and traveling, I was thinking maybe you're starting to get paid for them and at least covering your expenses, kind of thing.
People don't understand, and they don't understand really how it works. And I certainly didn't when I got into it. And you need to really get a few years under your belt before you can start making any kind of real money, because it's like it's just a very. Aye, even if you do get any money, by the time you've paid for a hotel and paid your travel and had something to eat, it's all gone.
Yeah.
So it's you're not in it for the money, you're in it for the love. I've got huge respect for it and a lot of respect for the craft of it, for the work of it. I'm so aware of it all, and where you start to take your material once you really know it properly, how you start to develop that with an audience and things like that. It's all great fun. And even the sort of really horrible gigs, a good gig teaches you fuck all. A really bad gig will teach you something, and you can look back. And the great thing about stand up, anything that happens to you that's like traumatizing in your personal life or in your professional life, it's good fodder for the stage. So if anything bad happens, I think, I'll get a good laugh out of this later on, and you develop and you grow. And but I mean, it's a cesspit. I mean, stand-up comedy is a cesspit, and you're dealing with a barricade of fuckwits who are all at this stage, and they're all hungry for fame and power and money, or they've been doing it 10 years and don't understand why they're not headlining the Apollo, right? And they're all, and all these people are angry. There's nothing funny about the comedy business. So you've got
kind of didn't mix with it too much again, because I've
got a few close pals who I really care about, who I converse and talk to, and a lot of people who I have a very amiable kind of working relationship with, and that's fine. And I've got 1 or 2 people I wouldn't piss on if they were on fire. I know that you need to share a green room with from time to time. It's all just part of the deal. At the end of the day, see if you're committed to being good, and if you've got talent, and if you can do it, and if you can walk on, and if you're doing well, if you're smashing it 90% of the time, you've got something. And if people are asking you back to do gigs, as long as you can go on stage and make people laugh, you're going to be all right. Nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can do anything. As long as if people book you, you know that they book you, that you turn up, that you host their night, and you do a good job, or you go up and do your 10, your 15, your 20, or you close the show every half hour or whatever, and you can go up there and you're consistently good at it, then that's all that matters. And fuck. Everybody thinks, you know what I mean?
And you've also hosted a few nights as well and ran a few gigs. How did you find that experience?
A thankless, laborious, mentally straining thing. Running gigs is hard work, and people, is a guaranteed way to start making enemies as well, because you can't always. People start to take comedians bruise. Every comedian I know will bruise like a peach over the slightest wee thing. So if you couldn't get somebody on, or if you book somebody that somebody doesn't agree with, the drama. It is fucking exhausting, and it'll be a long time. I mean, I might be running a new gig soon. It's not finalised yet, but that is something different, and it's not just your average,
open mic.
open mic bin, right? It's going to be something that's going to be good. It's going to be putting money in the pockets of the pros who are out there supporting the business end of our industry and that are dying on their hole right now. It's been on the last year. So putting money in the pockets of the pros that I love and respect, I've got a lot of time for, and they've got time for me as well. So that's good. And so hopefully we're on a wee gig soon in the West End. But I've no guarantees yet, and that's through a friend. That's a favour. So that's for a charity, but that's not finalised yet. So you know what this business is like. Things can be all sale and then it falls in its arse. So if that gig comes about, I'll have good fun doing that once a month or something like that, and out there gigging, because doing so much hosting, I really have. I was really not really nurturing my
own set.
My own set. Although I was developing new material all the time, I wasn't getting it up to scratch by going out and gigging constantly, because I was performing in front of the same people all the time. And do you know what I mean? So it's these are all learning. It's all a learning curve, Billy.
Yep. Well, you've certainly done a great job, and well done for overcoming your challenges in life, and still, as we all are, getting up every day and making the most of the tools at our disposal. And it's been a pleasure.
Well, we're not there yet, Billy. It might all go tits up. You never know. But cheers, and hopefully things will work out decent, and I'll be able to support myself and earn a living a year, doing all this shit.
Remember, it's not the end destination. Sometimes we can get caught up in that as well, you know. You might never get to where you think you want to be, you know, but if you have a lot of fun on the way, then, you know, that's part of it, isn't it?
Of course. You know? I'm doing something creative.
It's hard to say, you know, you might want to get somewhere, but there's lots of other forces at play to whether you in particular can be successful, you know. So you can just do the best what you can, and you're out there doing it every night and enjoying it, and I'm sure you'll go from strength to strength anyway.
Well, they've got bookings right through to November already in my diary, so I'm not going anywhere for the foreseeable, and we'll see what else.
Is there a particular gig you'd like to plug before we leave?
Well, I've not gigged this year yet, so in fact, this is the first thing I've done comedy-wise or anything to do with a comedian since we came back for the new year. I've got a gig on January the 16th, which is a Sunday, in Freed Up Comedy, and that's in 96 Maxwell Street in Glasgow. Freed Up Comedy. It's on. I've got a Facebook page. I'll be sharing it on my socials closer to the time as well. If you want to come along and see what all the fuss is about, then get a ticket and come and say hi.
Okay, if you want to see Colin, I've got a blog. It's called Wrong Comedy, from the nights we've done at the Edinburgh Festival, and your set is on there on my website, so people can check that out if they want. I shared you the link.
That's in the release for that, Billy.
I shared you the link, so I was assuming it was all good to go.
That's all right.
Aye.
Fuck it.
And I did send you the video as well, but I don't think you actually downloaded it.
All right, I don't know. Did you?
I did a wee while ago. Anyway, we'll get off there. You hang around and I'll speak to you afterwards. Everyone, thanks for watching, and thanks again, Colin, for being on the show. You've been a great guest.
Cheers, Billy. All the best.
Cheers, folks.